Okay, welcome everyone to this last day of this Ignite course. Hope you're enjoying it. And tonight we're gonna do something super cool that probably will be a little fast, but will deliver, I think, a very good result. And this should give you like the idea of what you can do with the skill that you acquired so far if you practice a little more and if you spend more time on it. So what are we gonna do today? So today, we're gonna build from scratch a web app together. And why? Well, the reason is pretty simple. We will recap all the topics of the course in order to, revise them, to make them ours, and to see if we grasp them correctly. And of course, to make some extra practice so that at the end of the day, you will have a better understanding of all the moving parts involved in the creation of this simple web page. So what are we going to do? We're going to implement this landing page in which, it's kind of a copy of a Spotify in which we have three sections, a menu on the left, a list of songs for several artists that will be fetched from an external resource that are the Deezers API. And we're going to have a nice bar underneath, and that when we click on a song, the song will appear there and the music will start. Okay, so let's start in building this. I already have my boilerplate ready. As you can see here, let's call it Strive, School, Ignite, Week 3, Day 5. Okay, awesome. So as you can see in this boilerplate, there is just the script, index.js, and the CSS in. If I open up this page, if I open it with live server, it is completely a blank page. There is no content here. So we're really starting from scratch. We just have the usual body and that's it. Okay. So the two files are connected. The simplest test that you can do is to set here the body to be background color red, and here to add a console log test, something like this. By saving these two files, we should see the first change in the page. So the background is red, so the CSS has been loaded correctly. And if I go here into my console log, I can see this test message. That means that the JavaScript file is loaded too. But let's start from organizing, let's say, our work. What we have to do at the very beginning is to start to think of how we want to structure our application. If we go back to the screenshot that I was showing you, this sort of prototype, as you can see, we have these three sections, this left bar, this main part, let's say, and then this on the bottom, this player that if we have time, we will explore a little more. So let's start by doing this. So let's start with div within div within div within div. So let's start with the first one that we can call app container that will contain in the inside the menu. So we're going to have div ID main with on the inside the menu and the songs. So menu will be the left part, the one with the songs inside. So I am the menu here. Then we're going to have another one with ID, let's call it songs, because there will be some songs there. I am the songs part of the page. And then, of course, outside of this main, we're going to have our player that will take care of the last part of the page, the one on the bottom. So ID equal player, and this will be our player. Okay, awesome. So of course, our page is not even close to what should be the result. As you can see here, this is not what we expect to see. We expect the menu to be on the left, the song part to be on the right, this to be completely in the bottom. So let's just do that. So let's go to the CSS, and I think we can go back here and start working on it. So first and foremost, we want our app container, that is this div here, to take all the available space. So we want our app container, and I'm using the hash sign due to the fact that this is an ID. So just to revise it, ID is selected by the hashtag add container. Here I will specify that the mean height will be 100 VH. VH stands for vertical height, okay? So it will take the whole screen in size, and the width of 100%. So this element here should be big as the page is, as the screen of the user is, to be more precise. Then I want this element to stay alongside with this one. I don't want them to be display block. I want them to be display flex, so that the one on the left will stay on the left and the other one will try to fill the space just on the right. So I think it's called main display flex. Wait, I think there is a message in the chat. Oh, wait. You are definitely right. Thanks, Mario. Okay, so display flex for it because we want it to. Oh, wait. Federico is joining too. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I think there is somebody else in the waiting room. Okay, perfect. Everybody's in.
Diego, I'm sorry. Can you please
sure.
just zoom in a little? Ask Marta. Sorry for that.
Okay, awesome. I hope you can see better now. So as of now, as you can see, the application changed a little, but not that much. We can't really see the difference. The only difference that we can see is that this element is currently on the left-hand side of this element. So the first step is done. Now we have to assign the size that we want for this element. So these two should have the mean height of 100 VH, and we want to have some space in the bottom so that we can have the player there. Wait, app container or add container? I think it's up. Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot. I'm making a lot of typos tonight. So since we want to reserve some bottom space, let's say on the bottom of our application for the player, let's just reserve this space. How? By setting the padding bottom to 90 pixels. So let's see how it looks like now. As you can see, this part is taking the whole bunch of space, and then we have the player here. But the player, as you can see, it's out of the screen, and I don't want it to be on the outside. And another thing that I don't like is that I have this margin all around my app container that is due to the body that automatically has a margin of 8 pixels. So let me just kill this margin. So put it margin 0 pixel, padding 0 pixel, and then I think, yeah. Oh yeah, another people to admit. Okay, awesome. So now the margin is gone and the situation is a little better. I still have the problem that this part should include also the player, and I need to specify the size of each one of them. It might look little steps, but are these steps that set the foundation to then build the application that will look like as we like it. Because now that we have the structure, we can go on and set, for instance, our menu. Our menu on the left-hand side, we can set a min width, for instance, I don't know, 230 pixels. We can set a width, 230 pixels too. We can set the background color to a dark gray. So hash dark gray. Let me see. Yeah, looks almost black. Okay. I will set the color to white because otherwise I won't be able to see the text black over black. And I think for the moment this should be it. And as you can see, it starts slightly to look as this one. So this will be the menu on the left. Okay. So it has the color that it's supposed to have. It's taking the space it's supposed to. So it's just the first step, but we're getting there. Now that we have this, it's time to take care of the songs part. That will be the container in which we will place all the songs that we are fetching and loading from the APIs. So let me just create the right rule for this. It will have a slightly lighter background color that I think will be 121212. Okay, that should be slightly brighter. Then it's gonna take all the available space. So flex grow equal 1. Since this has a flex grow and this doesn't have it, this will take all the remaining space. Okay, and we're gonna have a padding bottom of 30 pixel, and we're gonna also set the overflow to hidden. And now you will understand later why. This will help us to create the sliding of the songs. Okay, so this will make this left-right scroll between the songs, since they will be over the size of the display. The last thing that I want to implement, just to finish my structure, will be the player. So these are the 3 blocks: menu, songs, player. So let me just set the style for the player. Since we reserved him 90 pixel on the bottom, it will probably have a height of 90 pixel. First thing first. It will have a color that could be like background color, a different one just to recognize him, like 28, 28, 28. Okay, we can set the color to be white. And we want this element to be fixed in the screen, because we will have several collection of songs, and we want this to be fixed no matter if I'm scrolling or not. You see the screenshot here. These, as you can see, we have Muse, Eminem, Metallica, and so on and so forth, and the songs continues. So I want the bottom bar to be fixed into the page, and the content here to be able to scroll under it. And to do that, of course, as I just mentioned, this player should have position fixed. This will bind it to that specific place into the page, and that place will be on the bottom 0. That means that it will be on the bottom of the page. We can just, for the moment, set that Z index, so vertically, it will be coming out of the screen a little, so that everything else will slide underneath. And we can set the line height to 90 pixel in order to have the text of that exact size, exact height, so that will be vertically centered. And I think this should be it. Let me think a little. Yeah, let's put the text align center just to have it. And let's see how our page looks like right now. Okay, it's not perfect. This probably need also a width of 100%, as you can see, but the 3 sections are somehow in place. There is still this small bug here of the scrolling of the page. Let me check what's going on here. Who is taking this space? This div main, this is the padding. Oh yeah, probably this padding is not requested at a moment. So let me just remove it from here. And I think that I need to set the width of this element to 100%. And okay, this is kind of the structure of our page, okay? It's nothing super complicated. There is a column on the left, there is this big block in the center, and the player on the bottom. Do you have any questions so far? So this should be set as color white, otherwise it won't be possible to read it. Let me check the chat too. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the question. Let's take a look to line height. Okay. So here, as you can see, our text is magically centered vertically. Why? Because the line height is 90 pixel. If I remove this, it will be exactly at the top of the element. So the line height is not the font size, is the space that every single line of text should take into our element. And therefore, since we know that this player is 90 pixels in height, we can just set the height of the single line to 90 pixels to center vertically. Okay? Is it clear now? Okay, awesome. So let me just go to get the API that we need. Apart from the single services, there are some services that are some sort of search engine for APIs, some sort of Google for API. Okay, so one of these is RapidAPI.com that provides you access to several APIs from a central point. So basically, it provides you with the documentation that you can use to access all these APIs. Okay, in my case, I will look for the Deezer one. There are some API that will allow us to access to our music collections. Okay, this is how API documentation looks like. Here on the left, you have the different methods that you can access to. A different method is an endpoint to whom you can ask your question. Each one of these is responsible for some kind of information or action. For instance, the search one will be the one that we will use and will be responsible for searching for a specific keyword in the music catalog, while album will get the information of a specific album, or genre will search for genres, or artist will go for the artist, playlist, track, radio, etc. Each one of them will have their own, let's say, their own goal, scope, and reason to exist. Okay. Here, as you can see, apart from this RapidAPI key, that is something private that you have to keep for yourself. Otherwise, you finish the limit of use per day, and therefore the API won't work anymore. And here you can specify the language that you are writing in, so that they can give you a piece of code that you can just copy and paste. For instance, in our case, we're talking about JavaScript and we're using fetch. So if I click here, as you can see, it is already providing me with a fetch request that I can definitely just copy code, go to my browser and execute in the console. Let's see what happens. As you can see, this is the URL of the Deezer API. The method is the get, and the only thing that we're adding to this in the headers is our authentication. This is my, let's say, secret key that tells RapidAPI that is Diego that is accessing theirs API. Why do we need this? Because these API tend to have some limits in the endpoint, because otherwise we will be free riding some important resources of their companies, and therefore they are limited. So if every one of you start using this API key that I will disable at the end of the lecture, this API key probably will stop working because it will be used too much. Now, if we execute this into the console, as you can see, we're receiving a promise, and when the promise is resolved, we have a response. And in this response, let me see here in the network tab, as you can see, I'm receiving back an object that contains into this data array a big load of information. We have an array called data, in which in the first position, for example, we have Lose Yourself from 8 Mile soundtrack. And we have a lot of information here. We have information about the album with the cover. We have the title album. We have information about the artist, this Eminem, and we have a picture of him and so on and so forth. We have the duration of the track. We have the link to it and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of information that we can use for our app. So the only thing that we have to do now is to go back, take this piece of code and copy into our application. Let's get back to our index.js and let's create our first method. So function, this will be an asynchronous function. Async is used when we want to use await. Since we are interacting with external API, JavaScript expects us to use non-blocking functions, and therefore to use await and async to await for the execution of this external call. You will never know how much it could take to contact an external API. It could be millisecond, it could be minutes, it could be whatever. So minutes, maybe not, because it will go in timeout, but you will never know. So load songs, this will be the name of our method. And here we will just execute this piece of code. Let me just transform this piece of code in the way that we're used to see it. So this will be const or let response to be equal to await this fetch, and then I will transform it into the songs. So let songs response be equal to await response.json. And at this point, I can just console.log song response. Cool. Now the only thing that I need to do is to invoke this method. I can do it from the console. So if I go back here and I type load songs, as you can see, I'm getting back exactly my object with this data array that contains all the songs that I might be interested in. So first and foremost, let me just return these songs that are under return songs response.data. This is currently returning me with the array with the songs inside. So if I do load songs, I will receive back just the array with the songs, if I did it right. Yeah, let me just save it into a let res equal await load songs. And now res should contain, as you can see, the array with all my songs inside. Now that I have a way to gather my songs, I would like to have this method a little more flexible. We know that the input of our method is in the parameters. So I can specify here the artist, for instance, and I can replace this Eminem that was hard-coded with plus artist. Now, if I go back to my console, I can invoke it like load songs of, I don't know, Metallica. And this will create a request that, as you can see here, will contain a list of songs from Metallica. Nothing else matters, okay? Cool. But now that we have this method, what should we do? Let me just go back to my project and let me go back to the index.html. You might recall that there is a specific lifecycle event that we can use to execute an operation when everything is ready in our page. So let's write a script here and let's attach to that window.onload. And here we will execute our asynchronous code. Oh, come on, async, and we will just execute await load song, and I will specify, I don't know, Eminem again. I will await for this, and I will store this result into Eminem songs, for instance. And now that I have these Eminem songs, I can, for instance, print the title here inside of songs. So I can just go for it, and it will be something like Eminem songs dot for each that we learned last time with Ricardo. So for each song, I will just add it to this songs element. So I need first to take a reference to it, songs div equal document get element by ID songs. And here I can just say that songs div dot inner HTML will have a new children that will be simply a paragraph. By using template literal, it should be faster. A paragraph in which I will print the song title. Let me check if this works before moving with the next steps. Yes, as you can see here, we have exactly what we expect to have. We have all the list of title of the songs from Eminem, or at least 25 of them. If we want to add more music, we have just to execute, for instance, another one with another artist, and so on and so forth. Now that we have this, and if you have any question, please stop me, we can go back in time to last Monday and get the card structure that we created with Stefano. So let me just go back to his project and let me just inspect it with you. So this was the project. Here we go. This was the project from Stefano. As you can see, we had this song card of David Bowie. If I open it up with live server, as you can see, this is how it looked like. Okay, so we had this fancy animation and we had this David Bowie picture and the title here, the ellipsis on the text, and so on and so forth. So now I can just go back to I can just copy this song card. I can just go back to my code here and replace this template literal with the content of this. With the content of this piece of code. And of course, I need to remind myself that I need also to import all the related CSS we built together. So let me go back to the CSS from Stefano, and I will take everything that is related to the song card. I can just copy this into my CSS. Let me just add a comment here. And I think we're good to go. This is not finished yet. If I check my page now, I should be able just to see a lot of this David Bowie here and there, okay? No less, no more. That is not what we expect to see here. So what I need to do is to leverage the template literal to change this coded value to the values that we expect to see here. So for instance, we need to find a way to access to the cover of the album. So if we take a look to our data, by inspecting the response that we receive from the API, we can see that for each song here, for instance, this is the first song, we have the album cover, medium, for instance, that should be the cover of it. So we can go back to the code, and here the album will be on the song album dot cover medium. Okay, it looks like we did the first step. As you can see, this looks like Eminem covers. Now that we have the cover, the time has come to change also the rest of the content. So the artist name, that will be probably song.artist.name. Then the album that I think will be on song.album.title, just guessing here. We will check if it's true or not. And of course, song.title, I think. Let me see if I got it right. Okay, I think it's definitely working. As you can see, we have Eminem, Curtain Call, the hits, and we have Without Me, and we have Real Slim Shady. So we managed to load all these songs and to put them together into our page. Do you have any question on how we did this?
Just a silly question. When you say I guess, what you recalled was the name of the different elements of object inside the API that you
Exactly. If you take a look into the response here, into the network tab, you can see that we have the response from the API. And for each element, we have a substructure in which we have plenty of information. So as you can see, for instance, the title is Lose Yourself. If we take a look into album, we have the link to the covers and also the title name and the track list, etc. For what concerns the artist, we have, apart from the name, also a picture of the artist and so on and so forth. So for instance, if I double click here, I should be able to get, I don't know, I think a very big picture of Eminem at this point. Yep, as you can see, I think this is Eminem. So I did not invent anything. I just navigate this structure to access the properties that the APIs are providing me. I have no way of changing this name, okay? These names and this property are created by the Deezers API server. Is it clear? Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, but now we don't want these songs to be one above the other, like in this way. We want them to be one next to the other way around, so that we can try to create an interface that looks like this one, okay? In which we have songs for Muse, songs for Eminem, and so on and so forth. So what should we do? First and foremost, I think the best thing to do will be to create another method here, because I will use it over and over. So I will create another method in my API that I will call async function render songs, that will receive an artist. And the first thing that it will do just to execute exactly this, but in a more efficient, not efficient, but reusable way. So this will not be Eminem songs, but will be songs. This will not be hard-coded, but will be just artist. And of course, this will probably require also to also some kind of refactoring. Why I'm doing this? Because by doing this, I will be able then to use by the external function just this method for all the artists that I want. So it will be await render songs of Eminem, await render songs, render song, I don't know, Metallica, and then I don't know, await render songs, I don't know, Blink 182, I don't know, whatever. And as you can see, my application automatically load all these songs. So now we're talking about Metallica. If I go under, we reach Blink 182 and so on and so forth. So we manage in this way to create a more reusable method and function that we can use over and over to render the artist that we want into the page. Now that we have this repeatable piece of code, very dry, let's say, I want to change a little the structure, because I want for each artist to have a title and to have the song placed in this direction. So first and foremost, this is not enough anymore. I need to create inside my div a container that will then render all the songs inside. So I will need to have probably a new div here inside. I will need to have something like this. Let me comment this out. I will need to have something like a div with the title, and then another div with all the songs inside. Okay, so I can just try to create this through JavaScript. So into the songs div, I will need to create my new div that I can call let parent div, or let's call it artist section. That will be equal to document create element div. Inside of this div, I will have two sections, a title and then the cards of the songs. So I will have my title that will be equal to document create element h2. I will set the title as songs from, and then the artist itself. This way, when we load the songs from Eminem, this title will be songs from Eminem. For Metallica will be songs from Metallica, and so on and so forth. So we have everything where we expect it to be. And we add this to artist section. So artist section dot add append child, of title. And now the second children that we need. Let songs container to be equal to document create element div. I want to give him a class because I will need a class to tell this element that I want them to be displayed one next to the other, not one above the other. So songs container dot class list dot add, and I will call it just song list. And then I will not be adding the songs to the div, but I will be adding the songs to the song container. And at the end of the day, I will be adding the song container to the artist section, append child, songs container. And of course, now I need to add this artist section to the songs div. So songs div dot append child artist section. So just to wrap it up, this is creating a parent div. This is creating the title of the section. This is setting the text for it and adding it to the artist section. Then I'm creating a container for my songs. I'm adding a class for future use. And for each song, wait, I cannot do it there. And for each song, I'm using Stefano's model to create a new card. Okay, and this should be it. Then I need to add the songs container to the artist section, and then add the artist section to the page. Until this moment, nothing appears on the page because everything is just in memory. All these elements are not rendered. They are rendered in the moment in which I add them to a DOM element, okay? Let me just save this. And let's see how it, oh, I think I made some mistake here. Let me inspect the page. I think there is an error. Okay, failed to, it's not a type of node, append child. So what I'm adding here. So which line? Let's debug this together. The error is in render songs index 22. So here, if I click on it, oh yeah, because I'm adding title, create element h2, title songs. Oh wait, yeah. Okay, silly mistake. Here, I should not set title equal to songs from artist, but I should set the inner text of it, because otherwise I'm definitely replacing it with just a string. And of course, it was complaining about it. And okay, still some work to do, but as you can see here, we get our title for each section. Now the next thing to do is to just add a new property to this container so that the songs will be one next to the other instead of, instead of one above the other. Let me just try very quickly by setting display flex. So as you can see, it's not what we expect to see because display flex is trying to squeeze them all in the size of the parent, but it is kind of working. If I use, for instance, inline flex or inline flex, here we go. As you can see, it starts to look what we are aiming to achieve. Of course, we need some padding. Of course, we need some margin, but we are in the right direction. So do you have any question? Let me check the chat too. Is this understandable? Will you explain the flex grow on the page? Yeah. So flex grow is a way that we have in when we display element with flex to divide the space between some proportion. So if we have a parent of size 100%, for instance, and we set one children to flex grow 1 and the other children to flex grow 2, one of the two children will take 2/3 of the space, while the other one will take 1/3. In this example, since this element is the only one with the flex grow set, it will take all the remaining space, okay? And welcome back again, everyone. So before the break, we managed to have an application that looks like this. It's not perfect. We have all these songs here, okay? But it's not that similar to this one. One thing that we can notice immediately is that these songs goes in another direction, let's say. So they are one next to the other, and they can also go outside of the screen, as you can see here. So we can scroll this element here. On the other end, another thing that we can notice is that these songs are squared, not our songs are kind of, you know, a little more rectangular than that. So let's do the thing one at a time, starting from the card itself. Okay, let's try to play it out here into the editor, and then we will apply the change. We will update immediately the change also for, how is it called, from the CSS. So as you can see here with Stefano, you set the width and the height of the card at 250, 350. So what we can try to do is to just change it to the same size, okay? So it will be 300 times 300. I think it's square enough. Let me check for other background. I think we can also make it a little smaller, like 250 and 250. And the text should still be readable. As you can see, since we are not setting the display of the layout of this element, this is automatically a display block. Display block means that this element is taking all the available space horizontally. And of course, by taking the whole available space horizontally, as you can see better now, there is no space for his sibling to stay next to him. To change it, we can just change the display and everything should work like a charm. Display inline block. As you can see, we're not there yet, but still we're now able to have all the cards one next to each other. So let me just take these changes to our code. We say that we changed here the size to 250 pixel. And we added another thing, that is the display to be inline block. Let me just see if the application looks the same. And okay, it appears so. Now what we have to do is to find a way to make this song list, putting all the songs one next to each other in the same line. So we don't want the songs to go in a separate line. We want them to use a single line and to create a scroll bar that will then represent them. there is a simple way of doing it that involves two different properties. First, the overflow. The overflow sets the behavior of a specific parent regarding the children when they overflow the x-axis or the y-axis. In this case, we're talking about the x-axis. So we can say that the song list will have an overflow x to be auto. And the second property we need to set is to be the white space no wrap. As you can see here, apart from this slider to use the default color that is kind of horrible, we already managed to get a very interesting effect. So now our songs are one next to each other, and we can just scroll this bar to go through all the collection. So let me just take this change to our CSS. This is the reason we created this class here. So this class is called song list. So I can go back to my CSS and to add it here. Song list, the where white space, no wrap, and then the overflow x to be auto. Okay. If I go back to my application here, now it looks slightly better. There are some things to fix, like I think we need a margin on top and bottom of this, but it shouldn't be a big deal. We can just go, for instance, to the song list here and to specify maybe that we want a margin top of 20 pixels. No, let me just add the padding top of 20 pixel and a padding bottom of 20 pixel. This should make it a little more bearable. And then we need to update the style of this scroll bar. So let's go back here, padding bottom 20 pixel, padding top 20 pixel. To change the default look and feel of the navigation bar is not so easy. I mean, it requires a lot of CSS line of code because every browser has its own properties, not really standard. So let me see if I can get it right at the first attempt. We have several properties to set. Let me just create another section just for the scroll bar. Let's call it fancy scroll bar. And we need to use the WebKit scroll bar, WebKit scroll bar, and to set the width to 10 pixel, for instance. Then we need to set the scroll bar track, WebKit scroll bar track, and to set the background color to, I don't know, let's make it 18, 18, 18, that I think is the same color of the rest of it. Then we need to set the WebKit scroll bar thumb, I think, yeah, thumb. That is the color of the cursor that you have, okay? That could be slightly lighter, the ground color 12, 12, 12 that we already used. And I think at this point, yeah, we need to set the WebKit scroll bar thumb over. So what happens when we hover that specific element? Well, it will change again the ground color. And we're gonna use 555, for instance. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, so as you can see, the scroll bar is, as it's not there, like you can barely see it And why? Because it will appear just when we go over it, and it will have this color. So I think it's definitely better than what it was. Of course, this is like style that you can change with the color that you prefer, but at least it looks like less from the 90s and a little more, you know, interesting. Okay. So things to do for this application. We need to set for sure a distance, sort of a margin between the songs, because otherwise it's definitely too close, the one next to the other. And then I need to remove this top part here to create the menu and to create the player. Let me just do this. So first and foremost, the most simple thing to do, I just want to remove this. Oh, wait. Here we go. Then I need to add a distancing between the songs. So for instance, if I take the song card, I can add a margin to the right, or to the, let's put it to the left of 20 pixel. And as you can see, we immediately create a margin between all the songs. Okay, so here we can just go back and go to the song card again and set this. So song card and the margin left to 20 pixel. Now that we set this, our core part, let's say our songs part, should be pretty done. This is, I think I need to add some margin here too. Let me just go to the H2 and to put some margin left of 20 pixel. Oh wait, margin left of 20 pixel and a text transform uppercase. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, slightly better, not the best, but yet. One thing that I want to point out, do you see how this player is behaving as we expect him to? So as you can see, it's taking this space without keeping the position as you expect the player to do. The only thing that probably we have to fix is the fact that this muse song goes under it. So we need to add some extra content here, some extra padding, so that the player will not, you know, so that we can see the page to the bottom of it. Okay. Probably it was the padding 90 that I removed here before. That's why I put it. Let me take a look on how it looks like. Yeah, exactly. So now, as you can see, we can reach the bottom of the page without having any card cut in half. Okay. Now we have two things to be done. One is the menu, two is the player. For the menu, it will be pretty straightforward. I want to have a logo and then a list of playlists or so. So first, let's find the logo. I think I already downloaded one, so it shouldn't be complicated. We just take it from Reveal in Explorer. Okay, so I can just take this logo and copy it. Where is it? To my Reveal in Explorer. So I can copy it here. So it's here, so I can just go back here and specify that here into my menu, I want to have image, source, logo. Let's put the alt, Spotify logo. Let me just go back here. Okay, I need definitely to give him a proper size because otherwise it will be too big, but it shouldn't be any problem. Let me just add a width of 100%. Let me try this out. So if I set the width to 100%, and if I set some margin of 20 pixel, top and bottom, we should be good to go. Let me just copy this style and let me just apply to all the images under the menu. How can I do that? Well, we know how to do it. So hash menu emg. And now the update should be there. Now what I want to add is the context of this menu. So here, as you can see, we have some names of some potential playlists. So I can go back here and we need to create them. But since I'm kind of, I don't want to write the same HTML code over and over, I will just copy an array and I will start from that array. So let me just copy a previously created array and paste it into my JavaScript code. So as you can see, it's just the very same name of the entry that we have seen into the screenshot. So now what I want to create is a method that I can invoke from the HTML5 file that will create exactly my menu. So I can just call it like load menu function load menu equal, oh wait. And here I will just read this array and I will map it inside of my menu inner HTML. So first I need to take the menu, document query selector, hash menu. That is definitely the same of document get element by ID. Menu, same thing. And now I want to add to the inner HTML for each one of these elements a new list item. So menu.inner HTML plus equal, that means add to the current content of the menu element. And I will have menu entries so that we practice a little with it. And I will map it. So I will transform these strings into some HTML element. So entry will become an li list item, in which this will be the content of it. It will be entry. And we know that this will not create a single string. This will create an array containing these strings. So if I want to use it as a HTML to assign to the inner HTML, I need to simply join it, as we've seen with Riccardo last time. And I think we're good to go. Now what I need to do is to invoke this method when the page is ready. So here, load menu. And as you can see, it is horrible, but it is there. So now the only thing that I need to do is to style it. So let me remove this I am the menu because we don't need it anymore. I just need to style it a little. Probably I would want that menu to be centered. Like, we just go to the CSS. Where is the menu? This is the menu image, and then I want to set the menu list item. I want to set the line height to 3 em, just to make to space them a little one to the other. Then I want to have the text transform to uppercase. Let me see how it looks like now. Okay, I want to remove the dot here and I want to center it for sure. So let me just. So I can just specify that the list style will be none. That means that no dot should appear on the left-hand side. Yeah, as you can see, I need to center the text. So I can put it at a menu level, like text align center. And I think this is it. Let me take a look. Yep, as you can see, this is kind of our list on the left-hand side. We can make this clickable, we can make this underline and so on and so forth. Like we can make it look like it's clickable by using cursor pointer. So that now when we hover it, we have this other icon, okay? And now we need to implement this player over here, okay? So let's take a look to how we can do it. So this player should do two things. Should show the cover and the title of the song we clicked on, and it should also execute the music, right? So we want to play some music tonight. So let's start from the first step. The first step is just to create this menu with the image and everything when we click on this specific button or whatever button we like. So we know from the previous lecture that we need to add an event listener for the click to be able to do so. Let me just go back to where we are creating the cards, because it's where we are creating the card that we have to specify this thing. So let me just take this out. Why I want to why do I want to take this out? Because I want to be able to add an event listener to this, okay? So let me just here, instead of doing it this way, I will divide this operation in two steps. One to create the song card, and one to add the content, and one to add the event listener. So this will appear later, and I will need first to create the song card. Let song card be equal to document create element div. Then to the song card, I will add the class song-card. So I can remove it from here and from here. Then I will add to the song card dot inner HTML this content. And I will then, at the end of the day, add to the song container append child our song card. The last thing that I need to do is just to add the event listener. That is the reason why we split this up. So now we need to specify that the event listener song card dot add event listener. This will receive two properties. The first one is the kind of event he is waiting for, and in our case it will be the click. The second one will be the action that this will perform. So for the moment will just be console log clicked, just to be sure that we managed to add the event listener. Let's go to the console and let's try to click on a card. Okay, as you can see, the clicked number is increasing, and therefore we are now managing this click. It is working, it is fine. Let me just now write down what we need to do when we click. It's not about clicking, but we need to, in step, take a reference to the player part. Add the picture of the song, let's say. Add the title of the song, and then play the song. No more, no less. Let's take a look. So this element is called player. So I can just go back here and take the reference to this element. So let player equal document get element by ID, player. Let me see if I got the right player dot inner text test. Let me see if I got it right. I can go back here, click on a song, and as you can see, this is now test. So it's worked. It worked. It is working. Now that we have this element, we need to add the cover and we need to add the title. So we can just do it very quickly by player.inner HTML and assign it through an event listener, to a template literal. That is this magic backtick form that allow us to go in multi-line and to replace part of the string with some pieces of JavaScript using the dollar and the curly brackets. So this will be div class equal to, let's call it player content. This will be the parent element. And inside the parent element, we said that we want to have the picture of the song. So it will be emg source equal to, and here we're going to have picture song. Here we're going to have probably song dot cover dot, I think it was like cover medium. Yeah. So no, song dot album cover medium. And then we will need to add a paragraph with song dot title. And let me close this paragraph. Let me see if we manage to do something. Of course, we have to tweak also the CSS. This won't look good, but yes, as you can see, Linkin Park is there. So it's not good. It's not what we expect to see here. We cannot see the in the end, this is too big, etc., etc., etc. But we're getting there. If I click on another one, as you can see, it is replacing it. So it's working. It is working miracles. So now what I need to do is just to change the properties of this picture, the properties of this container. So what I can do is just to change the properties here. I want them to stay one next to the other. And we know that this easier way for doing that is to set them as display flex. So if I go back here and I set display flex, as you can see, I won't say most of it is done, but part of it is done for sure. Then I need, of course, to put some limit to this picture because otherwise it will take the whole work. And I can say, for instance, since I know that the height of that bar is 90 pixels, I can set the height of this to 70 pixels. And as you can see, it is doing its job. So it is there, or we can put it to 90 if we like to have it full block, let's say. Cool. Now I need to set the properties for the paragraph. Like I can set that it has no margin top. And I think we are good to go. We need to increase the size of it. We need to space it a little, like margin left 20 pixel. Maybe also the font size would be 24 pixel. But I think it is decent. So we can go back to our CSS and apply the property from the player content for the image and for the paragraph. CSS. Let's take a look. Where's the player? Player. Okay, this is the player. So player content will have display flex. Then the image inside the player content, so player content image, will have a height of 90 pixel. Then we have the player content paragraph that will have a margin top of 0 pixel. Margin will have a margin left of 20 pixel, and we'll have a font size of 24 pixel. Let's take a look. Oh wait, not this one, this one. Okay, let's click on it. Oh wait, did I refresh the page? Let me see if I save the file. Yeah, this is it. Player content. Let's take a look. I think I know why it's not working. I think because player content, yeah, it is a class, it's not an ID. And therefore, here I need to use the dot, and dot. And therefore, yeah, at the end of the day, as you can see, we are able to show here the picture, the title of the song without any limitation. Now, the last thing that we have to do to make this project live, let's say, is to add the audio player. HTML5 is helping us big time with this because it gave us a control, it's called audio, that allow us just to add it to the page, to specify the source of the song and just to choose whether to play or not. So for instance, I can just go to my HTML and in any place of the page, I can just create a tag of type audio to whom I will give it an ID like audio player. And this is it. And then when we click on a song, we should configure it in order to execute the song. So this is part of what we did here. And this will be the final part for this method. So let audio player be equal to document get element by ID audio player. And then the thing that I have to do is to set the source for it. So audio player dot src, that is the source, like for pictures. And let me check into the response. Where do we have the preview of the song? So for instance, here we're searching for Muse. No, wait. Yeah, here we go. Let's take a look. The preview is called simply preview. Yeah, I could have guessed it. Song.preview. And then audio player dot play. I'm not sure. Let me search in the docs 1 second. Let me try it first. So, yep, I think it's working. Super loud. Okay, so the documentation was useless because the method was pretty straightforward. I just guessed it out and it was working. Let me just comment this line of code because otherwise we will be playing songs all night long and we have many things to do. So as you can see, we created this fancy interface in which we have the menu on the left. We have these different songs and we're able to start new songs by clicking on them, or at least a preview of them. Compared to the screenshot we had at the beginning, I think most of the features are there. We're able to scroll horizontally and to see all the songs from one artist. And we are also able to execute them and to scroll vertically. And having this footer, let's say this player, always available for starting the songs and so on and so forth. Okay, do you have any question on this project, in this application? Otherwise, I will proceed with the wrap up of the steps that led us to the building of this page. What is the difference between min width and width? Okay, nice question. So it could happen that you want to have still it could happen that you have one element that when the application changes in size should react differently. For instance, you might have one element of the page that could take 50% of the page, but never less than 200 pixels, okay? So this is like one thing that you can do. You can set the minimum width to be 200 pixels or 50%. The browser will give him 50% unless that 50% will let him to be less than 200 pixels. Yep. Okay, let's go for the search as Loom suggested. So where should we put the search bar? Let's add the search bar on the top. Let's go here and let's add this search bar. I will add it here in the menu, just under the logo. I will have my input of type text, placeholder, search, and then I will have an input of type button, and on click, I will just search song. And wait, I think the value will be search. Let's see how it looks like. I think I will have to do some restyling. Yeah, this is not beautiful at all. Let me just rearrange it. So I will create a div. And inside of this div, I will place the both of them. This will be the search bar. So ID search. Let's call it ID search. And I will give him an ID like search text. Okay. So for the search, I want to have display flex, since I want them to be one next to the other. And I will probably would like to have search and the input of type button to have the background 12, 12, 12, the color to be white, the border to be 0. Let me see how it looks like now. Okay, it's far from being perfect, but I think it's far better than what it was before. So let me just add here like some padding left of 20 pixels and padding right of 20 pixels. Please don't blame me for my styling skills, since it's kind of not exactly my most famous skill. Let me just remove this. I want it to be like this, and then I want also the search input of type text to have some properties, like the background color will be 28 and the color will be white. Okay. And of course, I will remove the border too. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's there. Maybe I will add also one last thing. I promise, pixel solid white. And for this too, border 1 pixel solid white, so that we can see them on the page. Okay, awesome. This sucks. Okay, cool. Now what we have to do, and it will be pretty simple, I think, would be to be able to start the search every time we click on this, okay? So how can we do that? We have most of the pieces in place. We can reuse most of our code. So let me just border radius 0, for this and for that, because I don't like it as it is. Yeah, a little better, but not that good. Okay. Whatever. Let's focus on the, let's say, JavaScript part. So we attached to this search button a method that doesn't exist yet, a function. Let's create this function. Async function search song. What should this function do? First, should read the value from the search input. Then load songs. As simple as that. So let me just read the name of this search text. Here we go. So let search text be equal to document get element by ID search text. Let search value be equal to search text dot value. And then we need just to load the song. But since we organized our code very well before, we can just use render song. So await render song of search value. Here we go. So now we can go back to our application, search for, I don't know, we have Muse, Lady Gaga, Linkin Park. Let's go for Iron Maiden. Let's search. And as you can see here, now we have Iron Maiden in place. We were able to search for these songs. Of course, usually when you do a search, you remove this content. So we can do that too. To do that is pretty straightforward. We just need to take a reference to the songs div and remove the whole content before loading our content. So songs div dot inner HTML equal empty string. Let's take a look. We go here, we have our three lists. We want to search for, I don't know, let's go for Metallica, search. As you can see, everything else disappears. Only Metallica are in town. Okay. And of course, if I search for something else, like, I don't know, again, Lady Gaga, the content is replaced and the new artist is back in town. Oh, wait. Any other question? Yes, sure. We can do it also with remove child, but yeah, I think performance-wise, the fastest way of doing it is to set the text content to empty string. This should be the fastest way possible for doing it performance-wise. Of course, we are far from talking about performance in JavaScript, but yeah, there are several ways of doing the same thing. And this applies over and over. As for, I don't know, the exercise, the homework, and for everything, there is no single way of doing stuff. And this is like, to some extent, confusing, and to some other extent is marvelous, because there are many ways to solve the same problem, and you can use a lot of creativity. It's not just a playbook that you have to go over and over and just to remember how to solve a problem, because you will need to solve it the same way the next time. It's just a matter of use your brain and to use the tools that you have on top of your head to find a solution for new problems every day. If you just drink some water. Any other question? Okay, let me just go super quick over what we did to create what we have right now. As you can see, our HTML page is pretty empty to some extent. There is very few information here. We just created a skeleton for our application. We have this div, the app container, that is just the container that will then have the two main sections. The main that will be divided in two, the navigation bar and the songs part. In this part, we have some initial content and then we load the playlists underneath. In this part, we have no content at all, and all the content that we have is dynamic. For what concerns the player, we set it as fixed 90 pixels height on the bottom of the page. The audio element is a HTML5 DOM element that we can use to play some songs. When our application loads, it renders some artists like Linkin Park, Lady Gaga, Muse, and it loads the menu. The render songs method is asynchronous because it will have to fetch some information from external sources. We created a method LoadSongs that is just fetching the information from RapidAPI with the query string we are interested in, and we are returning the array of songs back to the caller here. The only thing worth mentioning is the headers that contains our credentials to access to that server. Okay, they tend to limit the API, and therefore you have a number of requests per minute that you can do before they block you. Of course, then once we have the songs, we need to render them on the page. So we select the div songs, that is the one that will then contain all the collections. And for each artist, we create an artist section in which we add the title, and after that, a div of class song list that will contain all the songs one next to the other. And we're using the code from the previous lecture to render them in the way that we like them. One last thing for this point is that we split it up, the creation of this div for each song, because we were in need of a reference to whom attach the event listener for the click. The event listener for the click is pretty straightforward. As you know, it will just await for us to click on the element to trigger the event that we specify here in the callback. The add event listener accepts two parameters. The first one is the type of event we have to wait for. The second one is what to do when the event actually occurs. In our case, we're doing two things. The first one is to get a reference to the footer bar, let's say, to the bar that we have, the player bar at the bottom of the page. The second thing is to inject some HTML code that will be the picture of the song plus the title of the song, so that we know what we're listening at that point. And then we take a reference to the audio player. We set the source to the song, to the preview that is made available through the APIs, and we play the song. In this moment, the play song is commented, just because otherwise we will be playing song over and over. Once we created this element, we're just adding it to the song container, okay? And then the song container is added to the songs div. There are other two parts to discuss. The creation of the menu entry, that is super straightforward. We have a list of playlists. We can also add another one just to see if that disappears, your favorites. And save and take a look. As you can see, your favorites is the first one here, okay? And then we created this search bar, and the search bar, since our code is well written and well divided, it's pretty simple. We're just getting the value that we have in the search text, and we're using it to render songs. Okay, this is not mandatory. We can just also remove this. This is just to clear the current. Let me add the note here. Clear if you want of the current search results. And this is it. Things to remember here is that to obtain this effect here of scrollable, we had to use some inline block elements so that they put themselves one next to the other, and we have to specify into the parent that we want the overflow X to be auto. That is the thing that is creating the navigation, the scroll bar here, and that the white space is no wrap. Okay. Okay, awesome. So any last question on this? Okay, awesome. So let's get back to the slides. Okay, cool. So I hope you had fun creating this Spotify clone. Okay, so it was something we promised you, and we maintain our promise. If by rewatching the video, you can also build it on your own. It's not super complicated as you've seen. It's kind of 300 lines of code or so. But what is next? So, of course, if you want, there is a no mandatory skill assessment and project discussion. Starting in 1 week, so next Friday, we will make available one link in which you can take the test. The time required for the test will be about 45 minutes estimated, and you can take it whenever you want in 2 weeks time frame. So if you want to take it in 2 weeks time, it's no big deal. In 3 weeks time, no big deal. In 4 weeks time, the test will not be available anymore. And if you pass it, you will receive a marvelous diploma. So for this Ignite course that you can add to your LinkedIn, or you can share with your friends, and so on and so forth. So this is it. I would like to thank you very much for bearing with us until this lecture. I hope you had fun experimenting with this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course and scratch the surface, let's say, of this front-end web development role. And I wish you all to have a great night, and I hope to see you all very, very soon.